Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric. I got a fun and exciting episode for you guys this evening because for the first time in the history of the PCFX and Team Innocent, you can now play the game in full English. If you watched my PCFX series a couple years ago, I told you that this was one of the hidden gems of gaming in the 90s and a precursor to something like Resident Evil. But the only problem was if you didn't read or write Japanese, you'd have absolutely no idea what was going on. So the PCFX fan club, which is comprised of a lot of different developers, went ahead and translated this into English and released it for you today to check out. I will leave a list of all of the names in the description below because it is multiple participants, and the easiest way for me to not forget somebody is to do it down there. Before you get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we have a Patreon link down below as well. But Team Innocent is one of those games that basically I know nobody has played and they've never even thought about playing it. Last time I talked about the game, I said if there was one game on the channel that I could convince you to try, you should definitely check this one out. And the best part is now with full English, there is absolutely no reason not to play this game. I'll say here in the beginning, we try to get into the control room and the door is locked. Just like something like Resident Evil, you're going to have to circumnavigate all of the levels in this game, unlocking doors, finding items, participating in light combat, and basically playing it like a survival horror game. But now you're going to get 100% more story and 100% more ability to actually play the game because you're going to have some semblance of what's going on. And when I say this game is foundationally important for the survival horror genre and what it would become with Resident Evil and beyond, I 100% mean it. You can see so much shared DNA between Team Innocent on PCFX and pretty much every other survival horror game that would come after it. And again, you'll see here we're at the other end of that door from the control room that we saw earlier in the game. We're now able to unlock the door and we have a shortcut in different areas, very similar to what you would see in Resident Evil with some of the locked doors in the Spencer mansion. Now obviously we're in space and space stations here, not a creepy mansion, and I would say that the horror element of this game is very light. It's more anime based and it's a little bit lighter in color tone as well. A lot of the areas are brightly lit and you have these really nice colorways going on here. So it isn't traditional horror as far as survival horror is concerned, but I absolutely love how the game looks on PCFX. All of the pre-rendered backgrounds, all of the different character spreads you're going to see throughout the game, and all of the colorways really do lend themselves just to create a very interesting vibe that is on the lighter side of horror but still 100% works. And that's definitely something you don't see very often. Now as far as the translation is concerned, let me explain a little bit how it works here. All of the in-game voice acting, all of the text in-game, and everything else including the menus is going to be in full English. There's about 7 FMV cut sequences that are in the game that are still going to be in Japanese. Once you download this patch, there's going to be a readme file in there with links to 7 different YouTube videos that you can watch that have been fully translated. It is just quite difficult apparently to get these FMV cut sequences built back into the game and running on the PCFX, but I do know from talking to the team that is the plan for a further revision of this, so maybe in January or February you will have that one comprehensive package. But honestly, it is a very small price to pay to be able to play Team Innocent in full English. You just have to watch a couple of YouTube videos, and that's no different than watching them on your PCFX anyway. And speaking of how you want to play this game, it does work on real PCFX hardware. I tested it on my console. It also works in Mednafen, which is the de facto PCFX emulator. Now, I'm pretty sure 99 out of 100 of you don't actually own a PCFX console, so for the most part, if you want to play this, you're going to be in software emulation. But if you do want to use a real PCFX, just remember, you have to use very good CDR media because the PCFX is very delicate when it comes to what disc it'll read. And honestly, getting the English story here is absolutely outstanding because I've been playing this game for like 20 years now. I did a video explaining how good it is and why I think it's so important that people do check it out, but it's always hard to recommend a game that you can't actually understand on the storyline front. But now today, that is completely different. And honestly, the story in the game is 100% great. I played through the entirety of Team Innocent over the weekend just to check it out, but I'm just showing you the first mission to kind of save a little bit more of the story beats later on. You will see here you have a full menu in game as well that's going to be in English. Once I actually navigate to the right area and go to that note, we can now actually read this. I've seen this note in the game probably 8 or 9 times playing through it, and I had no idea what it said. Using Google Translate, I always kind of rendered something that was quasi-understandable and quasi-complete gibberish, and that is the one problem with machine translations. They are good, but they're not good enough if the intent doesn't come across, and that was a problem last time I tried to play this game with Google Translate. I had just enough understanding to think I knew what was going on, but now having a full conversational translation, I actually realized that what I thought was going on wasn't true whatsoever. But this game definitely is a vibe. It is a certain kind of anime aspect to it, and it is something that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy for many different reasons, and it has a great soundtrack and great voice acting as well. So go ahead and listen to this cutscene for about 45 seconds, hear the audio, hear the voiceover, and see how it can be a little bit saucy on the PCFX side of things. And I'll come back and talk more about how historically important this game is and why you should play it this holiday season. But enjoy!
浴びちゃおう。だいたいさ、私がこんなところでシャワーを浴びなきゃなんないのはリリスがホワイトロッジのシャワーを壊したからじゃないねえ。まったくコンピューターはあれだけ使いこなせるのに一般家庭用品はまるでダメなんだから。ナイフを持たせりゃ歯を持つし、どこの世界にシャワーをホースの根元から引き抜いて使う人がいるのよ。それも毎回。
Super fun soundtrack, a great translation, obviously a little bit of sauce for the PCFX fans out there because the system definitely did have a little bit more of that content on it, but it is pretty tame and team innocent. And as we walk around the space station again, finding different keys, I can't stress enough just how fun this game truly is. It is almost a meditative experience because you're not going to be committing too much combat in the entirety of the situation. It's more puzzle solving, it's more survival and less horror, but the enemies are able to kill you, so you do need to be a little bit on your toes as you get to later levels in the game. It will get slightly harder, but really it's you against the concept of what puzzles you're solving, how you need to circumnavigate the space stations, and what you need to do next. And I just love the realistic, at least for its time and place, nature of the pre-rendered backgrounds. It really does look like some strange space station in the future. You have the star system out there outside the window. You have all these tables in the cafeteria. It is just a very interesting vibe, and there are fun different ways that you can kill yourself in this game as well, not including some of the enemies like this airlock right here. You can walk up to it and you can ask yourself whether or not you want to open the airlock door. You can decide what you want to do there. There definitely is a right and wrong answer, and answering the wrong way sometimes and give you some interesting and fun deaths to see as well. And that's the great thing about something like Team Innocent. It is an exploratory game where you just kind of walk around and do that survival horror gameplay, but in this anime aesthetic, and it's not like we had many games like this before Resident Evil came out. And again, you can definitely see some of the inspiration that would lead to Resident Evil clearly within Team Innocent. I would say if there's one must-play game on the PCFX, it would be Zenki the beat 'em up, but if there was two must-play games on the PCFX, I would 100% nominate Team Innocent for that, and I would probably say that this game is more important than Zenki was, although Zenki is definitely going to bring in bigger crowds because a beat 'em up on the PCFX just is going to get more eyes than a survival horror game. And even though the game does have combat, it is going to be rudimentary, but you will find some notes now in English that are going to tell you what the monsters are kind of strong or weak to, which is going to be a big benefit to you, and now with English you're going to be able to understand that. But really the name of the game is exploration. Like in this kitchen area here, we're going to pick up a kitchen knife and you're going to find out whether or not that's useful later on. And I'm keeping most of the story beats and spoilers away from this video because I know pretty much everyone watching probably has never actually played Team Innocent before. Leave me a comment down below and tell me if you played it or if you even realized it existed, because when I talked about this game probably 3 years ago, my audience wasn't as big, so maybe you missed that video. This is just the type of title, every single time I turn it on, I'm reminded that the PCFX did have a good amount of power out there, and it did have a lot of potential. But one more soundtrack sample of voice acting this time, 30 seconds, and I'll be right back.
この VTR を見ている人がいるとすれば、すでに私はこの世にいないでしょう。この VTR を見ている人に、私の罪を告白します。そしてこのリレー衛星内に起こっている事態を何とかして解決してください。私は ITS 局員管理番号1109023ゴールド・ライスフィールドです。
You can tell the developers of Hudson Soft put a lot of time, energy, and talent behind Team Innocent because the voice acting in this game is outstanding as well. And again, now, at least in that segment, you're going to get that voice acting in English in the game because it isn't an FMV cut sequence, it is in-engine in the title in and of itself. And again, just having to watch 7 videos on YouTube for the time being should not be much of a heavy lift at all, and I'm sure they'll all get incorporated into the game files at some point in the future, but it's not like a ton of people really know how to develop for PCFX. It is a bit of a black hole of a console, but people are working on it, and hopefully in 2025 we see at least one more game get translated, because Team Innocent, to me at least, is foundationally so important as to what survival horror would become. Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Siren, and so many other survival horror games from the PlayStation 1 and Sega Saturn era have something in common with Team Innocent. It's like all of those developers played this game back in the day and realized there was something to this genre. And obviously games like Alone in the Dark and Dr. Hauser existed before this as well, so I'm not trying to say Team Innocent kicked off the entire genre. I'm just saying that this really feels like the missing link between some of the earlier games like Alone in the Dark and what you would see with Resident Evil. Now if you want to play this game, again, you can play it from start to finish on Mednafen, and that's 100% how I would recommend most people play it. You don't need to go out and buy a PCFX just to experience this title, and even if you own one, burning disc can definitely be hairy for sure. But play this game, at least for me, over Christmas. Give it an hour or so of your time. I think you're going to find a lot to love. And I love how desolate and empty these space stations are as well. You can tell they were lived in at one point in time, but right now they're empty. Something has gone terribly wrong, and you're here to figure out what it is. And as that story unfolds, it is very fascinating. It's got that sci-fi aesthetic to it, with a little bit of aliens mixed in there as well. But it's so incredible to have English in this game now, because it's been one of my favorite hidden gems for years and years, and every time I get a chance to recommend it to anybody on the channel, I do so. But now I can recommend it to everyone because it's in English, and I know you'll be able to understand what's going on. But short of that, we are done. Have a happy holiday. I'll have more videos coming out, but I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.